Hello friends, this is Anton Karostalev from QuickTiles. You are watching the full course on the plugin. The current version is 1204, Lesson 5. Today we will create the simplest paving material and use its example to repeat the material we have already covered. So, open the material editor and create a QuickTiles node. Let me remind you, it is in the material editor, Maps, General, QuickTiles. We add a node with a double click and the interface opens. It's empty at first, and we need to add a new set of tiles. Click the Add Bitmap Tile Set button, and the slicer opens immediately. As you know, the slicer contains ready-made cuts of materials that are provided with the QuickTiles library. Let's search for something about paving stones. Here we see a number of different paving stones that we have in the library. I want to choose this one. It is as simple as possible and it has two colors of tiles. Fine. As you can see, here we already have a slicing, and the tiles are marked by ID. We have dark tiles in ID 1, light tiles in ID 2. Let's delete them and slice them again. In this material, we have a mask, so Autoslicing will work on it. We press Autoslice, and after a few seconds we have ready-made sliced tiles. Let's go back to the diffuse channel by clicking on the eye icon, and now it's clearly visible here. Here are the tiles that have appeared. So that we don't waste a lot of time now, let's remove 3/4 of the resulting tiles, they just won't be useful to us. And now let's mark up the ID on these tiles. We select everything first and designate ID 1. It doesn't matter which tiles we distribute in which ID, the main thing is just to remember it and then use it accordingly. Let's select the white ones, we have fewer of them. And designate them ID 2. Also, do not forget to use dynamic texture reduction to speed up the testing. Let's set 25% for now, that will be enough. As you can see, our texture is now 2048 pixels. We accept the result. And the tiles have already been distributed in the default pattern. Turn off auto generation of preview for now. Make the patch size smaller, 100 by 100. Also, by default, base tile size corresponds to the size of a brick, and we are creating paving stones, so we switch the size to 10 by 20 centimeters. Now we can return the auto generation of the preview, and let's open it. As we can see, almost everything is good here. Only the gaps are dark for some reason. This is because these paving stones have very small similar gaps, and their grip, respectively, was also small. And the smaller the capture, the less blur you need to apply. By default, the gap blur coefficient is 0.5, but in this case 0.15 is suitable for us. As soon as we reduced the blur, our gap stopped being black and became the normal correct color. Fine. In fact, we have finished creating the material, now it can be tested and enlarged. Let's see how it will look in the render. Press Ctrl Space. The material is being created. Now we create the structure by clicking the Create Material button, and let's put it on the plane. We set the correct mapping 123 to 121 centimeters. And also add a displacement. In the Corona, you can use a displacement that adjusts to the material, or also enable a modifier. I think that the size of 1 by -0.5 will be enough for us. Let's try to turn on the render. Great! This is the kind of paving stone we got. As you can see, the material looks great. Of course, we have some repeatability here. But that's okay, because we're testing. We only have a few tiles in the set right now. If we had left all tiles out, this repeatability would have been significantly lower. Okay, we're done with the simplest stuff, and let me show you some additional interesting things. In QuickTiles, in addition to library and manually created patterns, there are two more options. These are circular layouts and herringbone layouts. There are unique cases when a pattern needs to be generated and, accordingly, these functions are available in QuickTiles. Let's take a look. The circular layout, as well as the herringbone layout, is included in the pattern parameters block. Let's try to arrange the tiles in a circle first. We turn on the circular checkbox and as you can see, the tiles have already been laid out in a circle. Of course, with circular layouts, the size of the tile is very important. Let's make it square to make it look more neat and beautiful. Like that. When working with circular layouts, we have only two parameters. These are the deformation parameters. Gap deformation is set by default. We also have tile deformation, but this mode has not been worked out yet, so it is better not to use it. And we can also set the diameter of the inner circle in the center parameter. Let's set 60 for the experiment. As you can see, the tiles have expanded a bit. The diameter of the outer circle is determined by the size of the pattern. Let's set 300 to 300. And as you can see, we have a completely different picture. We will also increase the resolution to 4K. Let's update and see what happens. Circular layouts are usually made quite large, so it takes some time for an update. We are installing the correct mapping 306. For now, we will leave the displacement the same as it was, and let's render it. The tiles are laid out, but now we have a void in the gaps. In real life, they will be filled with some kind of sand or some such material. But since we capture the initial gaps from a very small size, here the plugin has nothing to fill these gaps on its own. So we have to help it. Closing the render. And go to the procedural gap parameters. Right now, we have black color set on all channels. Let's try to fill it with texture. We have a texture of this kind of light sand in our library. I think it's quite suitable for us. We put a texture on the channels. To speed up, by the way, it would be possible to disable the auto update. Switch the roughness color to light. And now let's open a big preview and adjust the appearance. Let's reduce the size to 2K for now. As you can see, the sand is more yellow, and the gap color is more pinkish. Let's set it up. At the moment, we do not have the ability to adjust the shades, brightness and contrast of the gap texture inside the plugin, but this option will appear in the very near future. In the meantime, we'll use background color substitution. Let's choose a shade on the gap and make it a little darker. Now we set the transparency of the texture. And we already have something much closer. Let's make it lighter and a little more saturated shade here. I think this is quite enough for our test. But when you work out your own texture, you can adjust it more precisely. Go to the displacement channel and configure it as well. As you can see here, the edges of the tiles are quite dark, so we need to darken the texture of the displacement. We leave the blackest color and try to set 50% transparency. I think that's fine in principle, but you can still make it a little darker. Great. I also want to round the corners a little bit so that we don't have such sharp corner here. To do this, we set the corner fillet function, for example, to 0.4. As you can see, the corners are slightly rounded. We can even enhance the effect even further. Great. And we'll also check the roughness channel. You can make the roughness a little bit more lighter. Good. Closing the big preview. We turn off auto generation so as not to waste time on it. We change the 4K resolution and control space for the update. The texture has improved, and as you can see, we already have something in the gaps. Let's render it. Well, that's much better. Of course, when we render up close, we see that the texture of the gaps is overlaid, but if you render some general plans of the park areas, then this will definitely not be noticeable. That's it with the circular layouts. And now let's look at the herringbone layout. Stop the render. Turn off the circular layout and turn on the herringbone layout. We also make the size smaller. And we return the auto generation of the preview. As you can see, we still have a void. This is because we have a base tile size of 10 by 10 centimeters. When we work with the herringbone layout, it is very important that the size of the base tile is matched in an even proportion. That is, 1:2, 1:3, and so on. Accordingly, if you have 1:1, then the herringbone layout will not be generated, and if you have an uneven proportion, then the herringbone layout will be crooked. I'll show you now. Let's set 20:10. And we had a beautiful herringbone layout. Let's open a big preview and take a look at it. As you can see, we have a standard tile and everything is fine. Let's try to make some kind of incorrect proportion, for example 25 by 10. As you can see, at first glance we still have a herringbone layout. But our vertical tiles are much higher and narrower than the horizontal ones. This is because the size of all the tiles in the herringbone layout is geometrically tied. And if you set the wrong proportion, it simply cannot be correct. Let's go back to the proportions. Although let's show you now the ratio of 3:1. We set 30. And as you can see, our layout has been regenerated and now all the tiles are correct. Let's go back to the 2:1 layout to keep the standard tile size. And now let's add another set of slightly different colors to this set. As you may remember, in QuickTiles you are not limited to a set of textures that you can mix. You can add some other tiles to this paving, as long as the size of the color of the gaps is suitable. Alternatively, you can copy this set, edit it and add new tiles accordingly. Let's do that. Click on the copy symbol in the line of the set. The set is being copied. I clicked too hard. We'll delete and disable auto update too. Click on the set. And let's leave only the dark tiles here and make them even darker. Enabling HSV. Editing the color of the tiles. We make them a little darker. You don't need to make it much darker, because it will stand out too much, look too strange. And we reduce the contrast, because when we make it darker, the contrast increases a little. Click OK. As you can see, the tiles have darkened. We have a mask here, so HSV works only on the mask, meaning the gaps are not edited. That's it, we accept the result. Slicing takes place. And now if we turn on the auto update preview, we will see that we have tiles of a darker color. But let's reduce their number. As you remember, when we add a set, we can adjust the number of tiles of this set. By default, probability is at 100. But let's do it at 50. That is, there will be less than half of these tiles than these ones. Let's make it even smaller. That's so good. When you create an additional set of tiles, you can adjust the frequency of occurrence of this set through probability. If you have several different tiles in the same set, you can adjust the frequency of their appearance only by disabling them with the help of eraser tool. For example, we now have a set of two colors, light gray and white. Let's make a little less white tiles. Opening the set. We can, of course, delete them, but then we won't be able to return them later. Let's just turn them off. We'll turn off almost all the white tiles, leaving just 4. And now that we accept the result, there will be significantly fewer white tiles. Okay, let's try to render it. Click Update. We are setting the correct mapping of 120 by 120, displacement has already been installed. And let's try to render it. This is such a wonderful herringbone we got. As you can see, the tiles are a little blurry. I have sharpen turned on now, but if you turn it off, we will see that they are slightly blurred. This is because we are using a reduced original texture. Therefore, if you want to shoot some close-ups, don't forget to increase the source texture size back. That's almost the end of it today, and I want to try to make a texture with a more complex pattern. Let's go to the pattern editor. I recently created and added a collection of brick patterns to the pattern library. Let's take something out of it. We write a brick pattern in the search. And let's take this brick pattern 8. We have 3 different brick colors, so let's add a third ID here. Let's select a few of these X-shaped elements and assign them ID 2. We have this element in ID 1, and this one in ID 3. We will also assign a short tile as the base tile. Accept the result. Right now we don't have ID 3 yet, so let's add it. We will have this dark set in ID 3. As you may remember, the IDs that are set here on the tile set always overwrite those IDs that are set on the slicer itself inside the slice editor. Well, it turned out beautifully. Let's click update and see what happened. This pattern turned out to be much larger. 246 by 242. Let's set up the correct mapping. Well, to make it clearer, we'll reduce it a little. Good. Rendering. Well, it looks very nice. However, as you can see, in addition to the short tiles, we have very long ones. But since we don't actually have any long tiles in this set, the plugin tries to expand and stretch the ones that are there. And it can be ugly sometimes because it repeats multiple tiles in the same container. Let's try to take a set of tiles where we have long tiles. It will look much more aesthetically pleasing. We delete the current sets and add new ones. We write paving long. As you can see, our library offers 2 sets in which there are long tiles. Let's take the one that's grayer and more authentic. We already have the ID distributed here. We have white in ID 1, gray in ID 2, and dark gray in ID 3. There is no need to edit anything. Accept the result. I didn't reduce the dynamic range, now it will be sliced a little longer. Here is a small preview showing us roughly how it will look like. And, probably, I want to change it so that here we rarely have light ones, and more gray, dark gray, and medium gray ones are in greater numbers. Accordingly, we need to swap these IDs. Double-click all the tiles in this ID, ID1, and switch it to 11 for now. We select everything in ID2, switch back to ID1 and this one to ID2. Great! We're checking the result. As you can see, the average gray and white have swapped places. Click Update. Let's set a resolution higher than 4K. And update, control space. Fine. The tiles have been updated. Let's make the displacement a little smaller. We reduced the mapping box, rather than moving the camera away, so the displacement needs to be edited. Here. And since this is the end of the lesson, I want to remind you that at the end of the work on the material, be sure to turn on Store to Temp. This will remove your material from RAM and write it to the hard drive. When you open a scene, you will not have a repeat update, and this operation will also allow the material to work even after the license expires. And it will keep your material safe in case of 3ds Max crush. So, click Store to Temp. There is a repeat update, but now the plugin writes information about this material to hard disk. This is a small file, it is stored in a special folder, and if Store to Temp is disabled and work continues on the material, this file will be deleted. The Store to Temp operation may take a little longer than the update operation because it is being written to the hard disk. Great. Render. As you can see, it's so easy and simple that we got a wonderful paving stone material. Thank you for watching this tutorial. I hope the repetition of the material has done you good. In the next lesson, we will look at creating irregular, complex shaped paving stones, as well as creating a direction. It was Anton from QuickTiles. Have a nice day and bye-bye.